CMPRadio.net, man. We are live in the Cultivating Mature Positivity Studios. I got my friend, my partner. He was my ride or die for a while there, man. Every day we were talking. He got a job and he left me. But I get it. I understand it.
But I didn't forget about you.
No, you definitely didn't forget about me, man. I have Jim McLaughlin in the building. Say what's up, Jim.
Hey. Yo. And it's always good to see you, man. This has been a thrill to get back and be able to do this again and talk and figure, because we've had many longer conversations about the meaning of life and the meaning of work and the meaning of community and all kinds of things.
Every time I took a job, he was like, "Are you sure you can do it?" JP, I don't think. I was like, I got it, Jim.
Take on another thing.
You're gonna take on something else. You're gonna explode.
Well, hey, and I wasn't crazy because
I did. I exploded.
You did explode a little bit.
I did. So, you are absolutely right.
And we don't. And I say that it's not going to be the way it works, right?
No,
it can't be your health has to
come first.
Have to come first. But in any case, it's great to be back.
Yeah,
I haven't been in the studio now. 4 years?
4 years.
Something like that.
4 years. As soon as COVID was done, he was like, all right, I got to go.
Well, I had to go work.
Listen, I get it. Look, you're not the only one. I understand it completely.
It's tough, yeah. But
how's the wife?
Laura is doing great. Hopefully she's watching us now, but I don't know. Who knows?
Right.
But she is doing terrific. I couldn't be happier and prouder of the work that she does with her students. Absolutely. And she helps me a lot. She's been helping me with my campaign and getting some things moving. So
because you are running.
I'm running, but she's doing great. She's up now. So you didn't know this because a year ago, 2 years ago, gosh, time flies. We had our first grandchild.
Oh.
Yes, little Eliana. She's just really awesome, amazing young lady.
I think I did see it on Facebook.
You might have, yeah. You might have seen it on
Facebook.
Right. But that's where Laura is right now. So she's up helping take care of her. She's just a pistol. Every 2-year-olds are amazing.
Yeah.
Everything is new.
Yep.
So she's doing great.
It's amazing.
And I'm back. Wanted to talk. I mean, what has happened to me, I think, in the last 3 or 4 months was a sort of a realization, right, of all that folks have gotten disconnected from what it means to be a citizen of this, these United States, as the phrase goes. What does it mean to be that? Because I think that what got us here with this condition of, having somebody in office that really, they have some unique perspectives, but, when you look at the cabinet that they picked out, people who are just flatly unqualified, you have to go back and wonder, well, how we got here.
Do you have to be qualified to be in politics?
You do.
Because when the forefathers started, they weren't really qualified to be in
That's
those
not
positions.
True. These guys were all part of politics before they sat down to.
How were they part of politics if they just discovered politics?
They were
the forefathers of politics. So they coming from a queen or a king.
A lot of them were representatives. They had part of their state legislatures. Right. They were part of they had been involved. They were historians. They were writers. These folks were not unaware. And in fact, what at least the things that I picked up in history was in that period of time, and because of the same kinds of issues of what they perceived themselves in middle 1700s, they perceived it as an authoritarian government the same way we might today. And so the people started getting really educated about what good government looks like. And that's when those founding fathers came forward. They had some new ideas. They certainly didn't want to continue with a king, right? That was sort of the whole point.
You weren't even here. You were over there.
Right.
And you were telling us what to do
here. Telling us what to do.
Right. Didn't make sense.
Didn't make any sense.
Right. Okay.
And so I think what we're doing now is reconnecting. And that's one of the things that I am trying to do is support that reconnection with who we are.
Would you say that politics means something different to everyone? Right?
Sure, yeah, but there's a structure to this, right? There's a structure to how our government works.
Okay.
How you engage it is your own approach.
Okay.
And there are lots of ways to doing that, and that's probably one of the big things that I like to talk about is how can, because there's been frankly, what I hear is a lot of strife, a lot of concerns about what's going on today
Absolutely.
in the nation.
Right.
And you might have heard me say this, my motto is don't fret, act.
Act.
I don't know if you remember. I've had that motto for a long time, so I don't.
You always used to say it to me.
So what we do is we don't fret about all this stuff that's going on. We figure out how we can act, and there are many ways that we can act. Okay. And so what I'm out here. One of the reasons I wanted to come on was to support your audience and an audience that I care a lot about.
Absolutely, he definitely cares.
And to let them know that there are things that we can do, that we don't have to just fret about stuff and get anxious and worried about things. And there's a lot of stuff going on. People are like emailing and doing social media posts and phone calls and all this other stuff. But my background, I'm a former school director, as you know. I ran for state rep in 16, lost. It's okay. I sat on the board in the Delaware County Solid Waste Authority. So I've been in positions of public that align in public service that align to the state requirements for the sunshine laws, where you're required for levels of transparency. You're required to maintain an opportunity for the community, the constituency that you serve, whether it be your school district or it be the county of Delaware or wherever. You are required to offer the public an opportunity to speak. And I was supercharged on, I don't know whether it was Inauguration Day or the day after, there was an invocation held for Donald Trump. I don't know whether it was the afternoon of that or the next day or something like that.
What is an invocation?
So it's an invocation where basically they all went out to the Washington Cathedral, and they held a service to essentially, I guess you could say, bless. The administration, or provide a reverent moment in initiating the administration. And so this Bishop Budde, forgive her, Budde is her last name, stood up there. She went through the whole invocation, talking about, and she had a moment to talk about what she saw and what she envisioned for the administration. Of course, this is after a lot of conversations around because the administration started as soon as they thought they knew they had won the election, with putting out all this PR and stuff like that about what they wanted to go do. So she kind of knew what was coming at the nation. And she stood up there and for a number of minutes basically said, I want you to be nice. I want you to be kind. I want you to be considerate of all that we are as a nation. And, I'm not going to go through a whole speech. I will tell you I can tell you where to get that speech, because I'll give you some more information about it. But in any case, it turned me to reconnect with the public comment periods that are there in all of our local government, civic, public service organizations that are mandated under the state sunshine laws. The thing that I realized about it was this was an open mic. It's an open mic. There's, the people in the audience can't go anywhere.
Right.
They can't move because they're there for the service. You have an open mic to talk about the things that matter to you at that moment. And the same thing is true in all of these local government meetings, all of them.
But they don't always give, even though it's true, they don't always give off the impression that it is.
They don't, because, different folks like to run their meetings differently, but the state laws mandate that they offer public comment periods They're usually limited in duration. You
Right.
usually get about 3 minutes, maybe 5.
Right.
It kind of depends on how many show up, frankly. If there's 1 or 2 people, the board chair or the chair of the organization that's sitting there will usually grant more time if somebody is making a point.
Okay.
But if to allow for some control, they will tell you, "Oh, we're only going to allow 3 minutes." That gives them the out to say, "Okay, you're done." But that's usually only when you're not making any points anymore. You're rambling or other kind of things, or you're attacking the organization, which is not helpful either, which is never a good plan.
So I was last week, 2 weeks ago. I was in Upper Darby, and we did a show in Upper Darby where they were talking about where's the money, right? There's some money missing in Upper Darby, right?
Yeah,
So they were trying to figure it out. So a friend of mine said to the mayor, who's a Cowboys fan, right? Look, you wonder why this city is where it's at. He's a Cowboys fan, right? And he did that, and it went viral. And he asked me to come up there and record a show, but I didn't know all of this was going on. And they were also up there fighting, going left and right with the council, right? Trying to find out what's going on and where's the money being moved. And they said it was the AAR. I want to call it AARP, the ARPA money, right? That came
ARPA,
through, right?
right.
And they moved it and they were playing with it and to make it look like they weren't, right? So my thing is, how can, and I know you can, I'm not saying that you can't, but how can regular people hold their government accountable for the mistakes that they're making?
Well, voting is the obvious answer. I mean, and that's what is immediately available. However, and this is, again, a part of why I want to promote this idea of using the public comment periods, because you can let the local government officials know that they are going to be held accountable. You will tell them how, you'll tell them why, and you will engage others in the community, because often these public comment periods are recorded, published usually out on their Facebook pages or wherever they might. And if they're not, I would encourage people to record them. But nevertheless, you can let them know what's coming, and I think that you can have an effect. I think I really do. So, and I know this, it's a great question. I know this because I've been on the receiving end of these public comment periods. If somebody says something that really makes you think, and you're confident is representative of a significant portion of your community that you're serving, then you're going to take that message and if not act directly on it, you're certainly going to consider that position as you continue to do your strategic planning and other things that you do. So I don't think at all that just voting is, that happens every couple years, maybe every 4 years for a particular, elected official or something. I don't think that's the only time that you can influence them.
Okay.
And I think we have an obligation. I think it's good practice.
Right.
To go to the public meetings, to use the open mics that are there, come prepared, and talk about your story and how some issue is personally affecting you, someone a member of your family, whatever. So this is not just talk. Right. So I built a website called operationsunshine.info, INFO. And it is focused on giving people the basic steps of how do you do that. You want to find the meeting that you're would like to attend, or a meeting you'd like to. You can do this because these meetings happen monthly usually, or more often sometimes. You can practice getting better and better at this. Nobody's going to fault you for giving it a whirl. So find the meeting that you want to go to. Put together the message that you have for the organization, and deliver it and try to record it. Bring a friend. And bringing a friend is really good because it gives you that moral support to know that there's someone else there with you. But they can also, the other good thing is they can record you if there is no other recording. So those 3 basic steps are what I have documented on operationsunshine.info. And in addition, I provide other blog posts and other things on why you want to do this. I give people examples of what it looks like to do it. Because sometimes, as you know, when you see somebody do something, suddenly you feel like, oh, I can do that. So I put and publish examples, my own examples, so that because I wanted to make sure people understood that I'm not just talking, I'm doing too.
Right.
I'm not fretting, I'm acting. And also showing people specific topics that they might talk about. Of course, nowadays, they come out almost every day. There's an issue that is affecting your community, our neighbors, our friends and family. When they cut NIH grants for Alzheimer's research, is important to me, epilepsy research, which is important to my family. Other special drug research for, well, I guess they call them orphan drugs. Things that are so difficult and affect such a unique population that only a government can do them. When those things start to happen, they really do affect local people, and they're nonpartisan, right? Health issues are nonpartisan. They don't really care what party you are a member of, and we need to take our personal stories to those local officials. And here's the next part of the story is, because what do you want to expect from your local officials? They are elected, and let me roll back a little bit further.
All right.
We are in a representative government.
Okay.
Representative democracy. Back in Greece, right? Some of us might have studied a little bit about Greek history and the history of the city on the hill and the democracy that existed then. All of the voting population would happen to be the rich white males back in the day.
It's funny. It's
funny how that happens,
right.
but angering. Yeah, I get it. But in any case, so they would bring together all of the eligible voters, essentially, of a city, and they would vote on everything. They didn't have the representation system that we have now. It was an efficiency to bring about, a parliament or a representative government system, so that you didn't have to bring together the entire population to have a vote on things.
Okay.
So what we're voting on are people who are representing, theoretically, the people's opinion, the feelings by majority, right? That's just kind of how it works.
So how do they get their own opinion if that's what they're supposed to be doing? Right? How do they get to make decisions that don't benefit the people?
That's the whole point of the public comment, right? Because there's no way that an elected official, no human being, can run for office knowing all the issues that are going to come up in front of them. Right. But there's no way.
You're blind to that.
Yeah.
Right? So I get that.
So it is our job, and so I come back to the point is, in a democracy, just as it says at the very front of the Constitution, we, the people, establish this government, which is basically to say, it's still ours, folks. It is still all of us. But we are establishing the Constitution as a representative government, as an efficiency measure to executing the needs of our collective society. So, but it never removes the responsibility of individual citizens to be involved in, to be aware of, and participate in the governmental process. And we do that through these sunshine laws. I don't know how long they've existed, probably quite a while. Right. But to your point of how does a politician understand how they should decide on any particular issue? Well, the easiest thing would be for them to ask. But, sometimes they're regular human beings. They got time. They don't have all the time in the world to ask every question.
Can you really consider them regular human beings once they become so whatever space they are elected into, they were chosen by the people to represent them, their wants, their needs, their desires, right? That's what they were elected for. They are public servants.
Yes.
Right?
True.
If you're serving you, how are you serving the public? Right? That's first. If you're serving you, you're not serving the public. Oh,
without a doubt. I mean, they need to always be mindful of the fact that they're elected to a position,
Right.
not because of who they are. They are there to represent the community, or they're elected because the people feel like they are representative and able to represent.
Those things should roll. They should switch every 4 years.
Well, they do. A lot of in terms of
no re-election.
In terms of no re-elections.
No
I understand
re-election.
your point. Yeah,
Right. That's how you make sure the person that's in there is going to do the best job. Right.
Is you're constantly bringing in new thinking.
New people.
Right.
New thinking. Yeah. You were in there for 4 years. You're gone. Right.
And right now it's not set up that way, but I certainly can understand the point. Which
you got
is
senators in there for 20 years, congressmen in there for 20 years. How are you a congressman for 20 years?
How can you possibly be
for the people?
Solidly for the people all the time in that situation. Well, a lot of it depends on how hard they're working to connect with the community. And so what I tell people though is don't rely on the every 4-year vote to make your voice known. They need to hear from you. If they're not asking you, you need to be telling them. So there's two parts of being an elected official. In any of the positions that I've been in, it's the same. You're there to represent and oversee the issues that are coming up that need addressing in your community. And they are very local issues, whatever, whether it be the county or a township or whatever, you are there to address the issues that your community needs. But you have another role. The role is to look outside of your community and understand where are the issues coming at us? Where are the issues that are, potentially going to impact our community members, which is really a lot of where we are right now. A lot of issues, whether it be job cuts or funding cuts, there's a lot of stuff happening outside of the county, outside of our townships and municipalities here that I firmly believe that elected officials have as much responsibility to voice their concerns over those outside issues, those policy issues, as, say, representative whoever at the federal level. If it's a federal issue, like a lot of things are right now, we can't just point to the federal elected officials and say, you fix this. Every single person within the power structure, within the policy structure, needs to be a voice in favor of change or correcting whatever the issues are that are being seen. And so I refuse to believe that you can just be an elected official and just be heads down on your community looking at it, and that's all you do.
Because things fall, right? And if you're not looking up, you get hit in the head.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we
hit on the swivel.
You learn to play soccer. You learn to play a lot of sports.
Absolutely.
You got to play heads-up ball.
Right, you do.
Yeah, you got to worry about where the ball is, but
right.
you got to worry about where everybody else is too. And everybody else is the folks in this case that are outside of the municipality or the organization that you're running. And so I'm, as part of my Operation Sunshine initiative, I don't just encourage folks to go to those public meetings and say, we have this XYZ issue in our community. This big issue is outside of our community coming at us, and it's going to affect us in these ways. These people, these issues, these organizations are going to be impacted by those issues. And what are you doing to represent us? Because you're not just representing us for local issues, you're representing us for all issues because you are our avenue into the power and the policy structure that is around us. That is how our government is set up. And Civics with Jim and JP, that's a key message that I want everybody in every community to understand, that if they feel like they're being affected by an issue, whether it be local or national or whatever, they have an obligation and an opportunity to go to their local municipality leadership and say, hey, this is going to affect us. What are you doing to represent us on this issue?
I'm not going to say everybody. I'm going to say there are a few of our community that don't really know the power that they have, right? That they can go in there and ask these questions and hold their leaders accountable. We had when we opened the radio station, I think that was the place to come and do that, right? People were, I don't like this, or get rid of this person, or get rid of that person, right? And did we have elections where we could change things? Absolutely,
Yeah,
right. But even then, right, we still have to continue to move forward, right? So I'm all for holding our leadership accountable. I'm all for them being transparent and coming back and giving the information to us. But if the community doesn't want it, who am I, right? If the community is okay with how things are going, I can't make them do anything. So how do we teach civics in a way that people from my community can understand it, number one, and can grab onto it and get it to move for them?
So it's good that, see, one of the great things that I love about the radio station is that you give people an opportunity to express themselves in a less threatening, more comfortable way. They can come, they can talk about, and they can practice speaking about their issues. I think they, at some point, because it's too easy for politicians to ignore social media posts, emails, phone calls, even CMP radio shows.
It's hard to ignore them when we get to talk. When we get to talking and everybody get to talking, it's hard to ignore it, right? But yeah.
But they can't, the politicians can't read every email. They can't listen to every phone call. They can't watch every CMP radio show. As much as they may want to, they can't. And so, but the one thing that they do have to do, they have to go to their public meetings every month or every week or how often they ever do it. And there are public comment periods right then. That's the public's radio show, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the public's opportunity, because you can bring up 5, 10, 100 people. They all get to speak.
They all get to speak.
And you can have practice. You can write down. You can have the same words. If a lot of people come up and say the same things over and over again, it can be impacted. I can just tell.
I know it can be, right?
And I think we just need to encourage folks, and I think we need to demonstrate. So the other thing that I talk about in this regard is those individuals that are comfortable with this, please go and demonstrate how the public comment period.
Well, we've had it. We still have it. We still have people that are going up there and that are comfortable talking about the things that are not moving correctly. But right now, I think everyone is just getting used to, in Chester, I can speak for Chester. Everybody's trying to get used to the fighting, right? The infighting that's going on, and everybody's trying to make sense of that, right? But no one really.
But are they asking bigger questions about what is impacting Chester from the outside? How we got where we are and what?
I mean, we know how we got where we are, right? This is after years of ignoring, right, bills and setting people up and things coming in and things not being put where they're supposed to put, and then someone takes over who was fighting for us, but didn't put their sword away, and then wanted to do the exact same thing that the other people were doing, right? And that's the problem, right? When you're a public servant, you're not supposed to take anything for you. You're only supposed to take for the community, right? So if the community doesn't get something, you shouldn't get anything. So if the community doesn't have a why, you don't get paid. If the community doesn't have a place for the kids to go and have fun, you don't get paid. Now, you say that to a person, and I guarantee all of those things begin to change. But if you're going to get paid and there's nothing for the kids to do, you get to buy property and there's nothing for the kids to do, you get to do this or do that. All right, I'm going to keep doing it. Ain't nobody worried about it. I'm still getting paid. And that's the problem, right? We have people, and it's not just the last administration. It's the administration before that, the administration before that, right? It's the administration before that. We got a soccer stadium that they say Chester doesn't get any money for. How? It's in Chester, Delaware County. How does Delaware County get money for our soccer stadium? I don't know. Somebody got to come and explain that to me. I would like to know that. But again, these are the things that happen when nobody's watching.
When nobody's watching, that's right.
Right, and like you said, Operation Sunshine, right? It's right there. There's the email right down there, right? Check that out. And learn when you can go to your city council meeting or you can go to your school board meeting and you can ask the questions that are important. Right now, we need to be focused on our kids, because if
Chester isn't benefiting, if Chester is being wrongfully treated on any issue in terms of revenues for your land, if you're not deriving revenues appropriately from the use of the land within Chester, then I absolutely encourage everyone in the community to go to the city council and say, what are you doing on a weekly basis, daily basis to change that? Are you working with the county? Are you working with the state?
Yes.
Are you working with the property owners? Anyone that because there are things to do, and don't tell me you can't do it, because I know you can. If they want to help, they can help. They just need to not be lazy. Unfortunately, we get, as you said, if you're not being held accountable, you can easily become lazy. It's human nature, I think, to do that.
I get that.
And
I'm not used to no one coming in here and telling me to do this or to ask this question or to make sure I'm accountable here or make sure I'm asking this question when I go to a meeting. I'm just trying to figure out, I don't get paid till Friday, so I'm just here to get paid, right? And that you're not a public servant if that's all you're worried about.
That's right. You're not.
And it's not a job, man. It's a duty, and you have to show up for the people. You have to speak for the people. You're
right. And I just encourage folks. It's hard. You can only do so much, but I don't know that people realize the power that those things have. I think making phone calls and doing emails and other things are great, but personal contact, especially when they pretty much have to listen to you, which is in these public comment periods, that's a powerful thing.
It is.
And I think if we demonstrate to these elected officials that they are being watched and we are going out and telling them this is the impact of inaction or action on their part that is affecting our community, and telling them that, hey, something's coming at us, they need to be involved in changing that, because they are elected to represent us on local issues and strategic issues outside. We've got a big land use issue in Springfield, where I am now. Big issue. I had a listening session on April 3rd.
So they were supposed to be turning that area into a park? Or they were talking about doing that? Is that in Springfield or no?
There is an area being turned into a park, but the area that's up for discussion right now is an open area along State Road. Okay. That is being considered for some development going on there. I don't want to get into all the details of it, but it's one part of the development is a medical facility, small, limited number of bed hospital facility. But we just emptied the Springfield Hospital. It's basically shut down at this point. The YMCA is still there, and there's a lot of concerns about whether or not building a new medical facility in the township. What benefit accrues versus using what we have
already
there
have, right?
Right.
The Springfield Hospital wasn't bad.
No, I've been there.
Right.
Yeah. Well, everybody, people can. And I'm not here to, because I don't. I'll be honest with you. I have not done my own homework, and I'm not going to. The point I'm trying to make is a lot of communities have real concerns about land use. What are we doing to make use of the land that we have? Can we reuse facilities or redevelop areas appropriately in order to maximize the balance between green space, open space, and revenue generating space? Optimize all of that. A lot of it has to do with what the community feels are the services that they need, the impacts that any particular operation are going to have on that community. Springfield has a lot of traffic because State Road runs right through it. There's a number of pretty major thoroughfares running through it, so traffic has always been a concern. But that's true a lot of communities around Philadelphia. I mean, traffic's an issue everywhere. But every time you have redevelopment, you have an issue where there could potentially be a new traffic issue arise. All of these issues have to be on the table. And the elected officials have an obligation, I believe, to engage the public in conversation about what do we want to do? What do we want to see for this or that property? What do we want to see for the services that might come from uses of these different properties? You know, just as you talk about the soccer stadium, was the community involved to understand that there was not going to be any revenue to the city of Chester? I don't know whether there is or not, frankly.
Neither do I. I was just saying that's what somebody told me.
But if there isn't enough, let's just say, if there isn't enough, a fair amount of revenue coming from the soccer stadium or any other quasi-public facility, because the soccer stadium's obviously privately owned. But if it isn't fair, then the public has an obligation to ask the elected officials, what are you doing about it? Because this is ultimately affecting our quality of life. Heck, it ultimately affects our property values, which is always an issue for local residents. Don't do stuff that's going to mess up my property values. Do things that enhance the beauty and attractiveness of our community. And let's make sure that you understand that. And so, unfortunately, you have to remind them a lot. Especially in times of decision, like a new property being developed or something like that. They need to hear this. So yeah, we did a listening session. We actually we haven't even talked about my campaign, but so I'm running for the Board of Commissioner position, the commissioner of Ward 4 in Springfield. This is not news to anything. I'm all over the place with it. And as part of that, because I've lived in Springfield since 2018, I've never seen any commissioner level listening session, information sharing. Nothing's ever come to my house that says, hey, we're going to go do these, conversations. We're going to have a conversation with the public. And I said, I want to demonstrate, I want to model something different and demonstrate what I think I did at the Solid Waste Authority, and I think we did at when I was a school director. We want to model the things that we would like to see. And so I said, and there was a plan to have a vote on this property in Springfield, and I was going to be out of town, and I said, I'm going to have a listening session ahead of it and hear what people are talking about and let them explain their feelings about things and talk about it, so that they are. It was an education for me.
What did you learn? What did you learn?
I learned the issues that I raised, which is we've got traffic issues, we've got open space issues, we've got a what they call best and highest use issues of any particular property, and there are concerns about the kinds of, not just the traffic impacts, but the housing impacts on school population, which these are all, there's a lot of issues. There happens to be a creek that runs through the property that's being discussed. Has that been considered carefully by the Department of Environmental Protection, the riparian buffers, which are those areas that are lowland areas around a creek that typically flood. They call it the riparian buffer, but it's filled with plant life and all kinds of animal life that live there that you don't want to disturb, because otherwise what happens is if you start encroaching on those buffer zones, you can create more flooding, because as you raise the height of the water, it moves faster and it has more energy to it, and it can create all kinds of challenges. So all these things get considered, right? They have to get considered,
as they should.
The community wants to make sure that all of these are properly considered, and they have a right to know what analyses have been done on the environmental impacts, on the traffic, on
So they're not liking you out Springfield right now.
I don't know that. I don't think that's the case. I think people appreciate.
No, I'm saying the public probably. I'm saying the people maybe in power, right? Or like, what is this? Why are we having meetings now with? Yes, because you are a public servant. You should be talking to the people that you serve. There should never be a moment where you're going into a city council meeting and then you're not holding something for the people later at a different location, and you're talking to your people. The people that voted for you, come out, talk to me, tell me what you want to see so I can begin to work for you. I can't work for you if you don't talk to me. Like that's why you asked for them to vote for you.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. How can you say you're ready to vote on an issue if you have not engaged the community? It's, like as I said, I don't know, 15 minutes ago, no one can be elected knowing all of the issues that are going to come up in front of them. No. They have to demonstrate an allegiance to the community to say, listen, folks, I don't have a perfect answer here. I need to hear from you on what your preferences are and understand your concerns. And if they're not doing that, then I don't think they're really representing the community. At the end of the day, I'm running because I think I can represent the community better and I think I'm modeling the way that we would do that. Simple stuff, right? Engage the community, be transparent about what's been going on, and be open with people to say, hey, I don't have the perfect solution here. I just want your input so that we can all understand how the decisions are being made. Trust, we have a lot of challenges with trust in government, right? Because there's not always the necessary transparency. No, you see people playing games with, it just happened this past week when, with the whole tariff thing where tariffs were put on, and then, Donald Trump announces in the morning that, it's a good time to buy stock, and then 3 hours later he takes the tariffs off or pauses them. And then certain people it appeared to, and I can't accuse anybody, but the appearance is that some people had advanced knowledge of that, went and bought, stock or stock options.
Why wouldn't he? My thing is, for who he
and profited. Just to finish the thought, they profited heavily from the day.
For who he is, the things that he's done, to have the power to do certain things, to mark things, to give things, and then drop things, and then let things happen for people to profit off of. That sounds about right. Right? For who he is. Right?
You're saying it's characteristic of who he is?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, right? For who he is.
Unfortunately, that seems to be the case, yes.
So why are people okay with that? Because it doesn't, I'm going to say this. Not
everybody's okay with it.
Nothing that he has done since becoming a president has affected me personally. Maybe people in black communities feel that way. Like some things need to be torn down before they can be rebuilt, right?
So if the tariffs had stayed in place, they're still in place, by the way. There's still a 10% tariff everywhere.
Right.
You
agree with that or no?
No, I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you agree with the tariffs?
No. I do not agree with the tariffs.
Why not?
I think they're horribly disruptive to the world economy. I think what we're seeing already is indicative of the disruption that it's going to have. They serve no purpose, just as was discussed all of last year in 2024 when the tariffs were even put on the table. It's a tax on our community. It's a tax on those with the least, because they're the ones who are going to pay the tariffs.
Hasn't always been a tax on those with the least?
Well, unfortunately, it's never been as progressive as it needed to be.
Right.
But the nature of tariffs is that it happens to affect consumer goods more. Yes. And those with the most tend to either not spend it. They still eat and buy clothes like you and I do. They may spend a little bit more, but
they don't even spend a little bit more. They spend the same amount of money.
They spend basically the same amount of money you do.
Right.
But all the other income that they get is used for other things. And so the percentage of tariff that they actually pay is a small fraction compared to somebody who basically lives paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely.
And just buys food and clothing and care for their children and other things. So that's what happens, is that it ends up being a very substantial tax on those with less, and it's not fair. It's what they call regressive taxation. It's not progressive. It's regressive in the sense that you are adding a fee on all of the things that are purchased by those who can least afford it, and so it's just fundamentally wrong. It's fundamentally, and it also doesn't serve anyone any good, as you might have heard some of the leaders around the world say. This is not helping anything. This is bad for all of us, and so
Canada's upset.
Canada, Mexico,
right?
all of Europe,
I said, wow. Like, what about China and Japan, right? Timu and all those places, like.
Right, yeah. I wish. I mean, I'm not enough of a global economist.
Neither am I.
To go through. I just know that at the local level, and this is so they were paused for a little while, but and not completely removed, but they've been paused somewhat. Those tariffs are going to start increasing the cost of things. Right. That is their intent. Right. They are. That is what they do. That's how tariffs works.
Make it more expensive.
Because the tariff's not paid by the foreign country, they're paid by us.
Huh?
That is how a tariff works. That is the whole miscommunication, the misleading information that was put out last year by Donald Trump and others, that somehow tariffs were going to tax foreign countries. They are flatly not. That is not how a tariff works.
So why are the eggs so high?
Eggs were high
right.
because of bird flu.
Okay.
As far as I know, and I don't think it was anything else.
They've
come back down. The prices have come back down. Right. That was just another vehicle for people to complain, as if the current administration, the Biden administration, had done something to actively cause that. That wasn't the case, but they love to claim. I mean, just this week, I think I heard that tomatoes from Mexico are going to be tariffed because they're just too cheap. They're more. It's more. I guess it's more cost effective to grow tomatoes in Mexico than it is to grow them here in the U.S. I have no idea, but apparently they're a lot cheaper, and it suppresses what farmers in the U.S. can get for tomatoes, and so they've increased the tariff on tomatoes from Mexico. I just heard this today, riding home. So I can't vouch for the validity of it, but I trust the people who were telling me that this is what's happening.
I'm not going to say. I used to find Donald Trump to be hilarious. Right, you're fired, all that stuff. Him as a president is another degree of just. I don't want to call anybody stupid, right? Because that's not. But it's like stupidity at its highest level, right? Whatever that is, ignoramus or whatever. To put somebody that used to be a reality TV star, yes, he had millions of dollars, yes, but he is not a public servant. A president should be a public servant, if nothing else.
Right.
I think we learned that during Obama's administration, right, where they were discounting his votes and wasn't allowing them to do this. Like, a president should be a people person, should be able to bring the people together. He brings division. He brings no accountability. He brings wild recklessness that you talking about. I've never seen a regular civilian stand in the Oval Office with a president until I seen Elon Musk do it. And he had his son with him, and his son had no respect for Donald Trump. And it's just like...
Yeah, you got to wonder. You really got to wonder. So...
I'm going to have to wonder. I know who runs the country, and it's not Donald Trump. They bought him, they got him, and he doesn't really care, right? You going to get me elected again? Okay, all right. We're going to get you shot at a couple times, you feel me? It's not going to really hit you, you feel me? We're going to get somebody locked up. He ain't really worried about it. But it's just like...
That's, by the way, that's a misnomer. I don't think anybody set that up. I think...
They didn't hit him.
Well, that is true, but I don't think anybody set anybody up. I think people like to believe that stuff.
It's the things that sound good that you can't believe that are really actually true sometimes.
Okay.
That's just me. But look, I appreciate you stopping through, man. I would love for you to come through again and do this, right? Operation Sunshine info, man. Check it out, man. See when city council meetings or Springfield Township meetings are happening. We need to be encouraged to cooperate with our public servants, with our leaders, with the people in our community. Because if we're not cooperating, then they're not cooperating. There's a whole bunch of people just doing whatever they want, and that's not good for us, right? So we need to work together to make sure that we understand the mission. The mission is to do the job correctly, not to do it unwisely.
And we need our representatives, our elected officials, to represent us. They need to appreciate that is what their job is, and it's a local thing, yes, but it's also a strategic thing as well.
Absolutely.
And if unfortunately I think we've gotten out of the habit of that, and I encourage folks to go to the website, understand what they can do, get involved. Remember that it's the tagline for the website is "Democracy is a contact sport." It's not a violent contact sport, but
it needs to be.
It is a chance to connect with people.
Okay.
We have to contact them to let them know what's going on, and we don't get to opt out. I mean, we haven't talked. We can do this probably at another time, but you don't get to opt out. Being a U.S. citizen has a very unique responsibility. You don't get to opt out of understanding and be involved in the government, because it doesn't work unless you're involved in the government. As we see, it can run amok. A lot of bad things can happen when officials are allowed to go crazy, and they're not reminded of their civic responsibilities, their public service responsibilities. So
I think Donald Trump won this election because he gave money out during stimulus, and people thought he was going to do it again. This time, he's just taking the money back that he gave you during stimulus. So if you got any money, man, it's crazy. That's
always good to talk to you, man.
I appreciate it, man.
I'm grateful to be able to come by. I love the studio.
Thank you.
I love your studio.
Thank you.
It's awesome. I really look forward to
We're coming together. We're moving in. We're getting in here, right? Trying to make the space ours. So, but I appreciate it.
Congratulations on continuing to. You're at 7, coming up on 7.
7. No, it's actually year 8. September will be year 8. We're trying to put a gala together and give out some awards to community members, right?
Good for you. Good for you.
It's always about acknowledging the people in our community that keep our community rolling, right?
Yeah.
The people that want to stick together, the people that want to celebrate each other.
And there's a lot of unsung heroes.
Yeah. We got Fusion Fridays. We're trying to do that this summer. I got a meeting with Stephon Roots, Mayor Roots, to talk to him about, permission to go into Sun Village Park, Memorial Park, Chester Park, right? And just look, I just want the kids to come out and have fun, right? And I want the community to come out, and I want the community to tell me what they want to see change. Because if you understand the power of radio, bro, like this is how people got information before television. This is how people got information, by sitting in front of a microphone and talking about the things that they liked, they didn't like, and the things that made them upset. Right, the things that made them happy, right? And then that people like it, and they say, "Oh, that makes me upset too." Then you got a group of people that are standing together to move something, right? And if you don't have that action, then people stay in power for a long time, and they don't care about their community.
They lose connection.
So
democracy is a contact sport.
If you don't want us to talk about you on cmpradio.net, don't lose connection. Talk to your constituents. Bring your people forward, right? Or we'll bring you forward, and you won't like when we bring you forward, man. I want to thank Jim McLaughlin for stopping through, man. Again, Jim, I appreciate you, brother, for everything that you allowed me to see when you were working with me, still talking to me on the phone, motivating me, keeping me positive, keeping me pushing, and making sure I got my eye on the ball. I appreciate you for that. I truly do.
And I appreciate all you do, too. It's great. Good to talk to you, man. All righty.
No doubt.